Welcome to another episode of InvestorPool. InvestorPool is a carpool series that's all about improving your knowledge on real estate, finance, and even looking to improve your income. Why I say that is because of the experts we bring on, from property professionals to finance professionals to even investors themselves. Today I bring on Jack Henderson. He is a professional property investor, but someone who has started extremely early and someone who's built a substantial portfolio in their early 20s. Now, for any of you who are out there looking to build a property portfolio in your earlier years, learning from someone like Jack Henderson will be fantastic, as he gets to share all his story and personal efforts that went into building a portfolio. Thanks, Jack, for joining me today.
Mate, thanks very much for picking me up.
So today is all about, I really want to hear your story and your thoughts. For those watching, Jack has built an amazing property portfolio at such a young age, and today this one goes out really to all the people who are trying to build a deposit, trying to start their property portfolio, that too at a young age as well. And I've obviously done that myself, but having someone else do that just shows that it's possible, 100%. Not once but twice. So mate, I'd love to know where it all started for you.
Yeah, so I guess my 30-second story is I grew up in northwestern Sydney, went to school out there, grew up in a working class family, was expelled from high school at 15.
Wow.
Yeah, sort of backed myself into a corner there. Went to work with dad in the construction industry at 15. Then I was earning pretty good money. I was saving a lot because I didn't really have a great deal to spend money on at that age, except sort of Xbox games and all the rubbish you waste money on. So saving money, and then I got to 18 after educating myself around investing and money and all the things you do. Decided to purchase my first property.
How did that feel? Your first one,
pretty incredible. That's the best feeling. The savings just sort of happen, and then the more you get, it just snowballs, and it feels like a natural progression. But when you actually put that money to good use and buy your property, it's a pretty amazing feeling, especially at 18 and you're getting the praises of everyone. Look, you're 18 years old and you bought your first property, so it's a pretty cool feeling. And then from there, that was in 2015, and then from there, obviously the Sydney market's had a pretty strong couple of years, so I had some equity growth and then more savings, and it just snowballed into the second, third, and now almost fourth property. So yeah,
that's the 30-second story.
That's the 30-second spiel, mate. Yeah.
Look, I'm interested to know, because of the who we're trying to talk to today. I'm really interested to know about going back to that first one.
Right.
So if you go back to that first one, you started work at a younger age than most.
Yes.
What sort of got you away from the temptations? Because when you're starting work at an early age, I'll tell you a funny story for me, right? I had not many people know this, but my first ever job, it wasn't an official job, I think it was like 1 or 2 days at a construction site.
Right.
Was lifting up jib boards from the bottom of this apartment building and then taking them up all the way to the top.
Right.
And I think I got paid, $200 and something for this 1 day's work, which is like the greatest thing of all time at such a young age.
Absolutely.
And I was spending that all the next day. So how did that work out for you to be at such a young age and then start to get these habits right?
Yeah, so before I sort of got expelled from school, I always had a job. So from sort of the age of 12-ish, I had a job. So I worked in a takeaway shop.
Wow. I
then worked on a farm. So I was working on a farm 3 or 4 afternoons a week after school, and then Saturday, Sundays. So I've always had that work ethic, and that's come from my parents. But then I guess when I got to full-time work, at that age, there's a lot of temptations, but the temptations are small amounts. So I was earning an income of sort of a middle-aged a man would earn at that age. So there was some temptations, and sure, I didn't hold back. I bought the stuff I wanted. I never went without. But at the same time, as you see that money start to grow, the temptations come back a bit because you see the money's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it makes it more enjoyable to save, of course. Yeah, when you've got $1,000 in your account, it's not so exciting watching it go from 1,000 to 1,500, but when you've got 50, 60, 70, 80,000 in there, it's a bit more exciting.
Yeah.
So I didn't hold back from spending, but at the same time, it was a balance.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking of that first property, sometimes people think it's very expensive to get started.
Yeah.
And, there's obviously things that you and I have learned of how to, get the right deposits or the right lending in place. What was that first savings amount for you to get that first property together?
So my first savings was quite a large amount. I could have bought a property a lot sooner, but I saved up a 6-figure amount and bought a $720,000 property. So,
wow.
It was $100,000 plus. So I could have got a property a lot sooner, but with my strategy and the mentorship I had, that was the sort of property I wanted to purchase. So, and lending was a lot easier then as well. Like, in today's day, the lending is quite tough in that way, and I wouldn't be able to borrow the money I borrowed then today. So, I could have got into the market with $30,000, but that just wasn't the sort of property I wanted to buy, and I was getting mentored through that, so I sort of wanted to take the advice of someone that has been there and done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, sure, like to get into the property market in today's day, you can get in with 5%. My brother's just done it. He saved up $30,000, bought a house worth sort of $500,000. And I don't believe $30,000 is a hard amount to save, because people seem to find it to go to Europe and to buy the new car and all the rest of it. So I think they can find it to buy a property.
Look, I think that's really inspiring, Jack, because firstly, getting past all those temptations at such a young age, building up to a massive savings amount, then from there going into buying your first property and holding back until you felt that something ticked your boxes. When you transition from that first to second, what gave you the confidence that many people start to go, all right, I've got my first property, but with that first property is not just the asset, comes a lot of red balance, right? On your internet banking or your paper statements, however you want to bank. What gave you the confidence to move from 1 to 2? Because that's the moment where things start to change, right?
Yeah, so even when I first bought my first property, it wasn't even so much to build a portfolio, it was just because the stigma in Australia is everyone buys their own property, so it was just buy a property. And then I bought my first property, and then I kept educating myself and seeing what a portfolio can do and the lifestyle it can bring. So I had nothing really holding me back. My mindset has always been very, very strong, and so is my perspective on life. So my thought process around it was, what's the worst that can happen? Look,
right.
If all goes bad, really, what's the worst that can happen? Nothing. You lose your money, and money at the end of the day really isn't anything. So to progress to the second property was quite easy in the fact that where I'd bought was getting exceptional growth over the 18-month period. I was still saving because I wasn't out of pocket a great deal. I was still living at home, so all the ducks lined up.
Gotcha.
And I just sort of transitioned into the second property. So yeah, there was nothing holding me back in that way.
So you've invested for your first one, and many people have that tough decision where they go first investment or first home.
Exactly.
I know me and you both have some thoughts on this, but why don't we share that in terms of that first investment as a decision? Because what I really found interesting was how you could still save, and I think that comes when you might not have that debt of living in a property, right?
100%.
So can you share more about where that decision came, where you're like, no, I'm not going to buy a home to live in, instead I want an investment?
Yeah, so obviously I was still living at home with parents, getting free food, free accommodation.
The life, mate.
It's enjoyable. So there wasn't even the littlest temptation to move out. So always in my mindset it was going to be an investment. It wasn't going to be an investment forever. Like, I never thought about, this would be an investment forever. I thought maybe investment for a few years and then I'd move into it. That obviously changed very, very quickly. But having the property as an investment, and then even if you didn't live at home and you went and rented somewhere else, like everyone uses the term now, rentvesting, financially it just makes complete sense. Because obviously if your property's negatively geared, you're getting the tax benefits out of it. If it's not negatively geared, it's putting money back into your pocket. And then generally you can go and rent somewhere for sort of 2 or 3 times what you can afford to buy. And it just makes financial sense. And then obviously you can progress into buying more properties because you don't have the huge amount of money you've got to pump into this owner-occupier home.
Yeah.
And the banks like it a lot more as well. So I guess from financial standpoint, it just makes complete sense to rentvest. I guess there's a lot of people though, like my brother for example, who want to make something their own. They have a little family. They want to be able to, put paintings on the wall and paint the walls and change things in the house. So it's not for everyone, but I believe if you want to better your financial future, then rentvesting is the only way to go.
And as you built your property portfolio, and knowing that you found something that works, how do you keep away from all the distractions? Because every time there might be someone waving something shiny in front of you to say, this is the new thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not property, take a look at shares or take a look at something. And it's not to say that those investments don't deliver, because there's people who've done really well in them. But how do you keep away from distractions that make you focused on what works for you?
by the people you hang around for sure,
Yep.
by what you feed your brain with. So like, I don't watch any commercial television. I don't follow or like any pages on Facebook or Instagram that give me anything but positivity and or people that align with where I'm going in life. So I think that's a massive, massive contributor, because you don't realize it, but just subtle things like you have the television on in the background and you see on the news it's negativity, it's the property market's crashing, it's this, it's that. You then go from television, you go on your phone and there's another negative thing on Facebook, and then you go from Facebook to Instagram, and it's just constant negativity and constant fear. And you mightn't be consciously taking it all in, but subconsciously you are. You see all these negative things, and it has a massive impact on the way the decisions you make and how you maneuver around things. So that's what helps me. It's and then the people I hang around, like people I grew up with, I probably have one or two friends that were childhood friends, but now my circle's completely different. Like I'm with people like you, people that are on the same path as me or are there, like are where I want to be.
It's interesting how that journey changes as time goes on, right?
Massive.
But would you say the mindset part has been a huge difference maker in what you're wanting to achieve?
Absolutely. Like, without a doubt, mindset, regardless of how much money you earn, how you were brought up, nothing matters as much as mindset.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, without a strong mindset and a thought process behind it, you can't do anything. Everything you start, you're going to have doubts. You need to crush those doubts. Anything you see that is not true, you're going to believe because everyone else is believing it and pushing you to believe it. So mindset is crucial, and supporting that mindset with people that have the same mindset and the same goals as you is also crucial, definitely.
So let's do a bit of a portfolio recap. So now, you told us about a couple of properties in your portfolio. How about you share with the audience some things like, okay, age, total value, total debt, and where to next?
Yeah, so I'm 22 at the moment. I've got 3 million in property. I'm 80% leveraged. I'm just about to purchase my fourth property, which will push the portfolio to just sub 4 million, and that's going to be a joint venture with another guy because, as everyone knows, at the moment lending's tough, but there's some incredible buying opportunities out there.
Yeah.
So when situations like this come, you have to think outside the square. So the deal at the moment is quite interesting. I've got a deposit sitting there.
Yeah.
Another guy has a high income but no deposit.
Right.
We're going to bring that both together. What is it? 1 + 2 = 4 or something like that. And we're going to do a deal together. There's obviously the legalities in place and all the rest of it.
What do the teachers think about it now that you're expelled?
Yeah, so that's the thing. Well, I don't even know what the teachers think. I don't talk to any of them. But it's just the people in the area as well. Where I grew up was a community that everyone knew everyone, and if they didn't know you, they knew someone that did know you. And getting expelled at 15. There's the mentality around the area that you're not going to be anything. Like look at, and it was hard for my parents. Like look at their son. What have they done? What have they brought up? And they're extremely good parents. They brought me up as a very, very good young man, but it didn't reflect in schooling.
Yeah.
So that's the thing as well. And I got a massive chip on my shoulder at 18 when I thought, look, at 15 when I was expelled. Like there was a chip on my shoulder thing. I'm going to prove everyone wrong.
Now, see what I really like about it, Jack, is you haven't gone into that answer to say, okay, do exactly what I did and do how I did it, because I'm a big believer of there's so many ways and so many journeys, and you know what, there is no I'm too old or I'm too young.
100%.
Like I just found out that some of my most successful clients that I have, they're in their 40s or 50s. They haven't purchased anything. They've had amazing experiences. They've built up a significant amount of savings, and now they feel like, you know what, I'm at a stage where I'm ready to turn the page and make a difference in terms of investing, and they've just gone on to do so much, right?
Mate. Everyone's journey's different. That's the thing. Like Mark Zuckerberg was 19 or 20 years old and started Facebook, and now he's worth X amount of billions. Warren Buffett, for example, made 99% of his wealth after 50 years old.
Yeah.
They're both still incredible people. Most of the world aspire to be both of them, but they've both had completely different journeys.
Exactly.
So that's what I believe. I believe just pave your own path. Do what you want to do. Don't be influenced by what anyone else is doing or what anyone else tells you to do. It's just pave your own path and then align yourself with people that push you along that path for sure.
Mate, that's awesome. Look, I've really enjoyed the chat with you today. If I was to say one last thing, where do you see Jack in 10 years from now?
Interesting question. In 10 years from now, I'll have my own business. To be honest, I don't think my lifestyle's going to change a great deal. I'm still going to be around people that I love to be around every day. I'm still going to do the things I want to do. sure there might be a bit more wealth, or you know what, there might be no more wealth because the world might turn upside down. But whatever happens, mate. So I'm excited for the next 10 years, definitely.
Awesome, mate. It's been great having you on. Thank you to everyone watching. That's another episode of InvestorPool, and check it out.
Now let's
for the
crank
next
the
one.
beats.